With respect to the amendment constitution, I'm still in a quandary. Uh, I have looked at this for some time now. I grew up in a part of the country in which this was considered a very, very strong negative. That and the environment influenced my early decisions that marriage was only between a man and a woman. However, events of late, uh, growing older, growing wiser perhaps, give some doubt to that. And so I am beginning to think about how I should vote in 15 months. I'll start with the introduction of my wife. My late wife had passed away in Florida when I moved to Minnesota in 2001. I met Jerry in 2002. Jerry has a very diverse network of friends, including gays. So it became very clear to me that this was a lady that embraced diversity, and for good reason. I began to learn that these people were much like myself, had the same values, uh, had the same opinions about life, hard work, yet they had a different proclivity, if you will. And that sort of began my thinking that these aren't evil people. They're not dangerous people. They're people who choose a different life. As long as they're not harming me, harming the public, or becoming a public nuisance, who is in their right, who has a right to challenge their right to their choices? I grew up in Birmingham, Alabama, a long time ago. My father was a homicide detective with the police department there during the 40s and 50s and the early 60s. And we lived in a very racially tense environment. My father was also very careful to point out to me that certain people were to be avoided because in his line of work he knew that these people were either sexual predators, um, child molesters, somehow, in a broad sense, deviants. That became ingrained as a young person. Religion played some part of that as I grew up, citing that marriage was a union between man and woman as God had ordained. Since studying religion for some time, I began to wonder about a story that was written by men for men. If I walked into the booth 15 months from now to vote on this amendment and I pulled the lever to vote yes, I would be basing that primarily on my past and my own personal belief that marriage is between a man and a woman. Walking into that same booth to vote no, I would be voting for what I believe is the right of individuals to choose. That society doesn't have the right to preclude someone's else's liberties as long as those liberties don't infringe upon the rights of others, the right of the public, or make themselves a public nuisance or harm to others. Marriage to me, in my own definition, is between a man and a woman. That's my personal preference. I don't share the same difference that other people might have, but for me it's a union between a man and a woman who obligate themselves to share a life, to share the responsibilities of growing together, and sharing the responsibilities of maintaining a home, raising children, providing, the essentials that require those children to grow up in an environment that is healthy, provide an education, a good sounding in the values of life, and hopefully then they will take care of themselves. I might add that I do not think that a marriage between gay couples precludes the ability to give those children, whether they be of them their own or someone else's, that same upbringing, that same set of values.